tell me if you've heard this before. I want to be the Hokage, the Pirate King, the strongest hero of all time, or the strongest fighter in the galaxy. So any of these could be considered impossible goals for these anime protagonists to reach the pinnacle of that world's hierarchy, and this is what you may call an underdog story. However, they are never really out of the race if you think about it. I mean, in a world of ninjutsu, Naruto has a large amounts of chakra and the Nine Tails to fight in his battles. In a world where pirates rule the seas, Luffy has devil fruit powers to go toe-to-toe with Yonko. And in a society where superpowers are everywhere, Deku gets the strongest quirk known to man. Every character has an essential ability that makes it possible to climb the ladder they want to go up towards. Well, Mash, he's in a completely different ball game. A society filled with wizards and witches, and the only thing he needs to win are his protein-induced, hard-toned, muscled body. Magic versus muscles? Well, he might as well be NPC number 5. The world is against those with no magic, which Mash doesn't have. So just imagine watching a Harry Potter movie and see some random gym bro waltz in and challenge Dumbledore. And Dumbledore gets acquainted to the pavement before he can cast a spell. Mash is a step ahead of the classic shonen protagonist trope. The world he lives in is truly against him. He dominates the 3 Fs of shonen, and more importantly, he absolutely is a Chad amongst Giga Chads. So in order to tell you the true nature of this story, we need to dive a little deeper into the... So imagine a world where everyone has magic. Your mailman has magic, the pizza guy has magic, and everyone else, magic. Kind of like in My Hero Academia where everyone has superpowers. This world's values are much different than ours. You don't have to lift a finger if you don't want to, and as long as you got a stick and a line on your face. And if you're even luckier, you get 2 lines on your face. These lines indicate how much magical power you possess, and the more you have, the more likely you are to breeze through life. But what if you don't have a line or 2? What if you have perfectly moisturized skin and supple lineless cheeks? Well, time to die, you worthless mudblood. That's right, people of this world value magic so much that if you don't have a line on your face, the moment you are born, you're considered disgraced by the gods and you're killed immediately. Yeah, Harry, you're a wizard, lucky bastard. Your cousin, not so lucky. Since the world is filled with magical people due to other magicians keeping it that way, there has to be a place to train those magical people. And yes, it's Hogwarts. I mean, the manga calls it Eastern Magical Academy, but it's actually Hogwarts. Come and look at the kind and understanding Dumbledore, Mrs. McGonagall, Draco, you little rascal, and the best sport of all, Quidditch. They even have all the houses separated. Adler, Lang, and Mashle did everyone the favor of destroying Ravenclaw and Hufflepuff and replacing it with an orca. And I was kind of curious why orca was the only animal name compared to the other houses, but Adler is German for eagle and Lang is wolf in Chinese, so, there you go. The World of Mashle is basically a satire of Harry Potter, the screaming plants, newspapers, the Sphinx they left out of the movie, and even down to the friends Mash makes in the story. Ron being replaced with Finn, and Hermione being replaced with Lemon. And it's actually because Mashle has perfected these friendship tropes and the other 2 core shonen building blocks that Mashle is one of the best shonens I have ever seen. The 3 building blocks of any great shonen manga and anime are the 3 Fs: friendship, fighting, and food. And Mashle has honed these tropes to such a sharp point, it's really hard to avoid his craftsmanship. Friendship in shonen manga is a trope you will see in all the classics, Naruto, One Piece, and My Hero Academia, for example. However, it's hard to escape the absurdity or unlikely resolve a character will have towards their best buddy. So the absurdity is still here, but it works this time. Mash somehow attracts everyone with friendless syndrome and remains in the center of that circle. What I really like about the friendship between Mash and the rest of the group is specifically in the friendship with Lance and Dot. They make a perfect foil for Mash in the magical world. With Mash, we cannot explore the magical capabilities and powers of the world through Mash because his strength is in his muscle fibers. But Lance and Dot, posing not only as friends but as rivals, show an escalation of magical abilities that we can only get through them being able to do magic. And it leads to some real hype moments. It's not only them either, but there are some surprises I don't want to spoil for the rest of the group. What really makes them stand out compared to other friendship groups is that they all have weird-ass personal issues. Cool guy of the group, it's Hiscon. The angry red-haired side character believes he's the main character and is a simp. The study tryhard overly obsessed with Mash. Mash's best friend, Finn, somehow the most normal person there. And then there's this bamboo guy who isn't even in the group, but he gets an honorary mention. Everyone is memorable and has a major role in expanding the knowledge of the magical world to the reader, instead of being characters made to be stepping stones for the main protagonist, because to be fair, Mash is playing a completely different game from these guys. Which leads me to talk about the fights. These fights are on another level entirely. In a way, it's a combination of One Punch Man in the Harry Potter universe with psychic comedy sprinkled into it. In order to show you how this differs from the regular formula, take Natsu for example. Fight begins, they both test their abilities. Natsu gets beaten, figures out something. Bad guy powers up to level the playing field. We have a winner, and it's not the bad guy. That scene could play between multiple different shonen shows in various different ways. But the difference is, they're not always guaranteed to win. When it comes to Saitama from One Punch Man, we already know Saitama is going to win. What we came to see was a spectacle of power from the opposition so that Saitama can satisfyingly snuff it out. Fights with Mash involved is almost the same thing. I watch Mash fight knowing he's going to win, but the reason I'm so invested in the battle is not to see him win, but to see how he wins. His strength in the anime gives him the ability to defy laws of physics on a daily basis, and the result? Suplexes and knees to the face, his wand became a tennis racket, he buries people, uses their magic as volleyballs. The thing is, with all of these fights that magic is put up against, they all look down on everyone else for having weaker magic and an ideology that they are meant to be superior. What makes Mash's fights fun is how easily he breaks this idea that they are better by imprinting his fists in their face. Not only hurting them without magic, but giving slight taunts that are melatonin truthful. Never in the moment rants or passionate speeches about ideals, just not the Pinky X. Combat comedy is extremely difficult to pull off, and the reason it works so well here is because Mash's moves are so out of left field that it not only shocks the viewer, but it shocks the antagonist as well. The reason these fights are so funny is because we get to see these internal monologues of the antagonists get their ass handed to them, and it's something I didn't know I needed to see. It somewhat makes the enemies more likable, and I get their live reaction to this baffling spectacle. Also, the fights with everyone else are surprisingly just as exciting as the ones with Mash in it. It's not every day where a main character could just step down out of the picture and leave it to the remaining cast, but damn it, Dot and Crown go hard. They could have easily been the main characters of their own manga if they wanted to, and that's what makes this story so well rounded. Their fights are explosive, and when Mash actually does step in, it only adds to the hype rather than signaling to the viewer, yo, it's time to get hype. I'm really impressed with what the manga has done so far with its fights, but what is more ridiculous is how they have mastered the third trope of food. Okay, so think of any other shonen manga or anime. Has a specific food ever played any important role? No? The food is never pivotal in the story, for the exception of Luffy to an extent. However, Mash is desperately and undoubtedly in love with shoe cream. The Japanese cream puff is always on Mash's mind, and it is because Mash goes into town for a special shoe cream that the plot even begins. Mash always has a buttload of shoe cream on his person that always makes an appearance in the battle. In a conversation, he talks about shoe cream. When he grows up, he wants to become a shoe cream maker, and if he ever had a bad day, he will offer a shoe cream bag. There is nothing more important to Mash than shoe cream, and this is what completes the perfect shonen trinity that no other shonen has ever done before. The food of this show became so important that the battles are fought and won over shoe cream. How many shows could say they have done this? This is absolutely extraordinary writing, and I have already eaten 2 shoe creams in writing this script. And with that, the 3 Fs have been perfected. No other shonen manga has been as well balanced as Mashle, and at the core of it all, Mash is the breath of fresh air I needed in a shonen protagonist. So let me ask you, what character backstory do you find in most heroes from Shonen Jump? Neglected, traumatized, perhaps missing their dad? Well, Mash has a dad, and that makes him 200% more stable as a character than any other protagonist before him. And he says it himself. He has a dad who loves him, and that is why he's not too beat down by things. He is the lovable idiot, and for some reason it works in making me feel joy when watching him. The important thing to know about this trope about balancing a character that is both dumb and a badass is that it's kind of easy to dip too far into either category. For example, Goku is somewhat silly and a badass for only wanting to eat, fight, and make friends. What made his transformations impactful was being used to seeing him calm and silly demeanor, being filled with rage and annihilate whoever's in his way, like his son. But at some point, his stupidity became the reason for more conflict, meaning he had to fight to fix his mistakes and ultimately became annoying because if you're like me, you scream to Goku not to give Cell a damn senzu bean. Mash is different. where he is the lovable idiot and a badass because unlike other protagonists, he is innocent and not looking to fight. He walks in on the bad guys. He forgets to meet Draco. He's not making a point. He's just got his mind on more important things. The villain's mistake is underestimating these hands that are rated E for everyone. I love how everyone in this world thinks so little of Mash, and the moment he even remotely punishes them, everything shifts from, I'm about to kick this magicless ass, to, am I breedable right now? It's honestly hilarious because Mash does not change. In his normal dead eyes, he proceeds to prove why magic is stupid compared to his stupid. I have not had as much fun watching and reading a story as I have with Mashle. I love that Mash is basically the bro that just spouts random stuff and gets confused on his own from time to time. He is an innocent yet powerful being, which makes him easy to love and laugh with while these witches and wizards flaunt their oh so powerful magic. Mashle as a story is perhaps a culmination of all its predecessors combined into a perfectly balanced mosh pit of shonen tropes. I can see inspiration from so many stories in anime that I've seen over the years, and Mashle is that piece of artistry that took the good out of its upperclassmen's work and built upon that groundwork to make Mashle what it is today. The fights are not only action-packed but tastefully comedic as well. Lemon, Finn, Dot, and Crown are all such lovable characters that I look forward to their character development just as much as I care to see Mash on the page. Which says a lot because I normally don't care for side characters very often. Even Shoe Cream can be considered a side character at this point. The 3 Fs are the building blocks of shonen, and it's like a breath of fresh air to see it displayed again in a new story such as Mashle. It feels somewhat like the classic shonen I grew up with, however with a new spin on it. Mash is such a simple and yet great character where the story will just revolve around him, and even still, I love how he's just a simple-minded gym bro who loves Shoe Cream, his friends, and his father, and all he wants is his own shoe cream shop to make other people happy. So just beware, if you get in the way of those things, tough, cause he will bury you very, very quickly.